Hey, thanks for tuning in today. I'm throwing over the microphone to Jason Knight again. He was part of the podcast last month, sharing a lot about branding. So Jason Knight has done my branding on leannehughes.com. And he was talking about newspaper headlines and thinking about ways to position yourself that way. And in today's episode, he talks about something that I absolutely love, a visual framework. So it could be a Venn diagram, a 2x2, a model that just captures your thinking. I think these are so powerful. And in today's episode, Jason shares why. Over to you, Jason.
My name is Jason Knight and I help uncomplicate your future. I help knowledge experts become dangerously distinctive by making an impact with your ideas. And Leanne has asked me to speak on a show today, and I'm keen to share about frameworks. I'm keen to share about guiding attention through visual models. It's always been about getting attention for your business, but today, particularly when AI is dominating and noise just seems to be everywhere, being good isn't good enough. So for me, I have been uncomplicating my own business. A model that I'd like to share, which is the pain to results model. And it is literally a way to codify or to create almost like a signature system where I'm able to actually leverage my IP in a visual model. And this visual model is a way to help me sell. It's also a way to help me position myself in the market and differentiate myself. And really, what I've noticed is that most business owners that come to me have a pain problem regarding, look, I'm struggling to grow, or my website or my marketing's a mess, or my services or my pricing seems out of whack. Really, all of this speaks about codifying and simplifying your IP to really create legacy, to create authority. And it's really helping people uncomplicate their thinking so that they can actually make an impact with their ideas. So this is a model. This is a model that has an epicenter, like how do you make an impact in the middle. It then has an area of what are the pains that you solve around the outside, and then from the pain is what is your solution. And it is literally just a way of walking prospects or clients through your big idea through to the pains you help them solve, making sure that you identify, that they identify with those pains, and then actually landing on the results that you bring. So my background is a little bit interesting. I spent about 10 years working in learning and development and really designing frameworks and models to help communicate those giant corporate training manuals, those 200-page training manuals that you'd get. So I would help put those things together. And I've also had a background in branding, in branding thought leaders, and essentially that is personal branding. But what happens if we start to put these things together? I guess the bit that has really started to intrigue me or be an aha to me is that really all of those things are about guiding attention and making impact with your ideas. And so I am just starting to use these models myself and start to threading them through some of my clients. And we're really seeing some really interesting results. So rather than focusing on funnels and landing pages and video sales letters and scriptings, and copywriting, like all these things are good. And, whether it's visuals or verbals, they're still a necessary part of how we communicate. But what happens if we strip all that back down to one model? Like, what is the model of your big idea? What is the epicenter of your big idea? And how do you then ripple that out across the client's pain and then how you resolve that pain in terms of your solutions? I want to shift in sharing a story. Is that I've been in communication for, 20 years, whether it's graphic design, whether it's branding, whether it's designing frameworks, learning frameworks. But the aha for me is that simple wins. In some ways, I've just gone back 20 years to what actually really worked back in the day. So the story here I want to share is around designing training materials. And this is one of my first jobs. So this was a corporate training company. They did leadership and coaching development for all the big corporates, the Qantases, the Johnson & Johnsons, all the big guys. And my job was essentially graphic design. I had to take the complexity of cultural leadership coaching and break it into a framework and visualize that, and then help roll that out in manuals, in posters, in frameworks. But where I started was, obviously we need to have incredible graphics. Maybe designing 3D characters. Think of the M&M characters, these personalities that people love, and they could champion different characteristics. They could champion how to be a coachee, or how to be a leader. And after testing it for a while, the exact opposite was true. What actually cut through was hand-drawn. What actually became a resonating learning, or what I call sticky learning, is when the facilitators would draw the model in front of the audience or the participants. And by drawing it, it meant that they had buy-in, and it meant that it was no longer this polished PowerPoint that they were presenting. It actually became a built knowledge in front of them, and that building process actually became what actually meant that they owned the idea. They came to the realization it was their truth, the audience's truth. And so I've started to bring this into my own business. Again, maybe 20 years late, but again, I'm bringing it in. Rather than leading with polish, actually leaning with the idea of being hand-drawn. This model is actually drawn in front of your prospects, and as a result of this drawing, they can actually understand where they sit, what the pain is identified, and how you bring the result. And so that is the big idea that I'd like to bring to you, Leanne, and to see how the old world of a first-time facilitator and the new world of Leanne on demand, or Leanne the go-to consultant, starts to blend together. Is there a way of one foundational idea, then combining the core pain points, and then your results or your offers around the outside? So I'm more than happy to explain this further to your audience, but I do want to flip the idea that sometimes polish doesn't win, and that we need to go back to a sketchy, hand-drawn learning environment, and by building something in this learning environment, it actually becomes more resonating to your audience.
Thanks so much, Jason. I'm a huge fan of hand-drawn frameworks. Even on the con call we had last week, I just got my iPad and I just drew some things in real time. My handwriting is messy, but frameworks really if you really want to land a point, there's no better way than doing it by gift wrapping it in a framework. And that's what I wrote about in the 2-hour workshop blueprint as well. I think Jason's right. There's definitely some underpinning ideas. And I think when I did work with Jason, one of the taglines we came up with was, let's take this outside. And I think I really do think that is like a core thing to how I operate. Even in first-time facilitator land, it was taking things outside the box, outside the ordinary, using pattern interruption to gain attention. But also taking it outside means to challenge someone. And that's what I do in my consulting world. That's what I do when I just hang out with friends and talk about business. And it's just the way that I operate. It's about challenging assumptions of what's possible or what's normal, as a way to win engagement and attention as well. Thanks so much for appearing on the show again, Jason. Lovely to hear from you, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.